Hi, darlings. Welcome back. South African matriculants dress better than some of our celebrities, hands down. But there's a bit of a problem with some of the content that I've been seeing, and it's showing me a shift whereby matric dances have transformed and changed from just an occasion whereby you get to go out and make memories with your friends and have transformed now into celebrations that are displays of luxury and wealth. From expensive makeup artists, music video level photo shoots, designer dresses, and expensive cars. I'm seeing a shift happen whereby matric dance has changed. It has shifted from community to more competition type of vibes. And I'm seeing a lot of influences from American culture and elements of individualism. I'm seeing us shift from this collectivist idea of Ubuntu to elements of individualism. The fact that the kids nowadays are even calling matric dance prom, that is an indicator that American culture has also infiltrated certain elements of matric dance. And I have no issue with displays of wealth. I have no issues with displays of luxury, but I'm very cognizant of the fact that whatever you project out into the world has an impact on people. This video is not to shade or denigrate these matriculants. I feel like they were absolutely stunning. Like, there was even a beautiful pink dress that I saw and I was like, what a beautiful dress. She looked amazing. She looked drop dead gorgeous. So for me, I'm stuck in between two places where I have a very great appreciation for the beauty, the theatrics, the performance. But then I also think about, what about the kids who don't have these levels of wealth in their lives? What do we say about them? The point of this video is to highlight just how matric dance has become a display of luxury and wealth, and less about creating memories with your friends or community building, and also the implications of if we move to the extreme, because what I am seeing is an impact of influencer culture whereby kids feel like they have to live up to a certain social media standard, and all the videos were very high quality, almost Met Gala level type of matric dances. I have no issue with wealthy people showing off their wealth, but within the context of South Africa, I cannot ignore the fact that there are kids who are seeing this that cannot afford these expensive dresses, these expensive photo shoots, these expensive cars, and it further stamps the fact that we do live in a very unequal society whereby the rich basically live a very different worldview. Like, the rich have a very different life compared to the majority who are not rich. And there's nothing wrong with being born into a wealthy family. I believe every one of us would want to be born into a wealthy family if we could choose. And the parents worked hard for their kids to look this amazing, to be able to have all these luxuries and all these beautiful things that they're able to share on social media. But there's something different that I worry about this generation, in particular, the young teenagers. I worry about the level of pressure that they have compared to previous generations, because because not only do they have pressure to be excellent students, get top marks, and go into the working world, go to university, try and get a job, but now there's also pressure in something that was supposed to be a beautiful memory that you share with your friends. Like Matric dance was supposed to be something that you do and you're with your friends and there's no competition. It's just about being happy to share the last dances with your classmates that you might never see ever again. And this transformation speaks a lot to the fact that we are taking influences from different parts of the world. We are also taking influences from American culture. But we have to ask the question, what are the implications of this? Are there any negative things when it comes to this level of luxury displayed in the public? I sometimes even worry about the safety of the kids who are promoting or posting these videos, because in an unequal society, in a crime-ridden society, for me, I don't know if it's ever wise to show your wealth in public. Because you can have an extraordinary Matric dance, you can take photos, keep them in a photo album, and actually have that memory to keep forever, take a video. But the fact that everything now is for social media, is for clout, we have to talk about the impact of social media and what it is having on young people, especially the young people who cannot afford all these pressures, all these lifestyle. What happens to the parents who cannot afford to keep up as well? In the context of South Africa, about 60% of teenagers struggle with mental health issues, and a lot of them require a lot of help with mental health resources. And in a context like this, one of the factors that have been highlighted with social media is the fact that social media does have an impact on a lot of young people's mental health. It's one of the many factors that contribute to negative mental health. And this is not to say that social media is just this horrible bad thing that we need to shut down the internet, because social media has pros and cons. The pros of social media is the fact that you get to find community, you get to find people who have similar interests of you. You get the opportunity for creative self-expression and identity formation. You get to discover who you are, what your interests are, and to an extent, I feel like most people are aware of activism, of humanitarian causes because of social media. You're able to become an activist now because of social media, and you know which movements to support. So social media has those good elements, definitely. But we can't ignore the negative implications of social media, such as the fact that cyberbullying is a real thing. And I hope with this video, nobody takes this as an opportunity to go and comment negative things on these kids that I posted on this video. Do not do that. I do not support bullying. I do not support harassment. Do not do that. We're just doing an analytical breakdown of what this means when kids are also participating in displays of luxury and wealth as if they are also like grown adults. What does this mean for young people? So social media has pros and cons, and I just mentioned the fact that cyberbullying is a real thing, harassment is a real thing, and the negative comparison. There is a lot of comparison that happens with social media, and that is the biggest factor in a lot of mental health issues for a lot of young people. Because when we're seeing these beautiful videos of these young people going, celebrating Matric dance, looking amazing, looking stunning, I will give them that. I will give them their flowers. They look stunning. But we don't talk about the kids who don't have the platform, don't have the means, the monetary means to look as glamorous as these other kids. They don't have the parents who can afford that. What happens is social media creates an illusion that everyone's life is perfect, everyone's life is amazing, everyone is rich on social media, and Imagine what health implications that has for kids who probably are middle class or cannot even afford these type of luxuries. What happens to those kids? And we have to give teenagers grace because this age is a very crucial age. As a teenager, you're dealing with hormonal changes, psychological changes, environmental changes, and social changes. And these things have the biggest impact on you. So the environment you're in impacts how you feel about yourself. Now, the environment is a digital landscape as well. It's a digital community. And if you cannot participate in that community, imagine the isolation. I feel like kids now have way more pressure to look rich, to look luxurious compared to previous generations. And I'm seeing a huge rise in individualism. If you ask me, what is individualism? The simple way to define individualism is basically the idea that you, the individual, are important and everything you do is for your own individual benefit. Whereas the opposite would be collectivism, which means we do things for the greater good of the entire community. And I'm seeing a huge rise in individualism. What do I mean? How is this individualistic? To highlight this individualism, I want to share with you the pros and cons of individualism. And then I will also share the pros and cons of collectivism. So the pros of being individualistic is the fact that it promotes self-development, self-reliance, personal freedom, autonomy, and the ability to have creative self-expression, creativity and autonomy, and just the ability to express yourself differently than other people. But the cons of individualism are: there's competition with individualism and it promotes isolation. There's a lack of social support. And inequality. It promotes a lot of inequality and conflict. And then we have collectivism. Collectivism is what I feel defines Ubuntu. I am because we are. And that is something that was a part of us as South Africans, but I'm seeing the rise in individualism. So what are the pros and cons of collectivism? You have social cohesion and harmony, cooperation and belonging. Also, collaboration. There's a lot of collaboration within collectivist ideologies. The cons of collectivism is the fact that there is suppression of individual self-expression. So you're not allowed, you have to kind of conform into what the group wants and needs, and you cannot be too different. You have to kind of follow the program, follow the status quo. You have limited personal freedom. And there's a huge potential of groupthink. What is groupthink? Is the fact that you will never have the ability to interrogate things independently because whatever the group believes is what you believe. Those are some of the disadvantages of collectivism. Why do I mention these? Why are they important? So remember when I was talking about individualism and the fact that it has pros and cons, and I'm seeing a huge rise in individualism in society whereby we compete with each other, we show off for each other. There's a lack of wanting to create memories and an increase in wanting to be the main character of the story, wanting to be the one who annihilates everyone with your outfit. I miss a time when community was bigger. I feel like it is that damn phone. Social media, it is definitely that damn phone. I miss a time when Matric dance meant You get to travel with your friends on a bus. Because I remember my brother traveled to his Matric dance. They went to Durban. They were literally fetched by a bus. And imagine that beautiful experience of being in a community with your classmates. You get to travel together. You're in a bus. Nobody is showing off. I do believe showing off was there to a degree, but not like now. Not like now, because now the audience is not only your school, but also the entire internet is your audience. So I'm seeing a huge rise in main character energy. I'm seeing a huge rise in the competition. There is competition. Let's not act like it's not, because it is a beautiful day for the matriculants, and I'm not going to take that away from them. I understand it's a beautiful day. It's one of the things that happen once in a lifetime. But if you see how all of them are posting, how all of them are just arranging their content, you can tell there's an energy of wanting to be the diamond of the season, wanting to be the Cinderella of the season. And I empathize with that pressure. I can only imagine what it's like to have this level of pressure. The pressure is getting worse for the young people. The older generation, Matric dance meant that everyone would be fetched at school by a bus. You would dress up at the venue. There was no theatrics. It was more about, we're going to party and dance for the last time, and we're going to take pictures that we're going to put in a photo album. Nothing for everyone to see, something that you keep as a memory. And I'm worried about the loss of community, because we always complain that it's so hard making friends, it's so hard making relationships, but then we're not thinking about what are the causes. What are the causes? As South Africa becomes more individualistic, whereby those who are wealthy are garnered a level of respect, there is also a level of isolation from that, because even the wealthy people know that they wouldn't have friends if they were not wealthy. And the people who are not wealthy, they know that they cannot fit into certain social circles or communities, or have a community of followers if they don't fit into the luxury lifestyle. So it's isolation on both sides. To be rich means you have to hang out with other rich people. And imagine the thought process that comes with the fact that you will realize one day that if I wasn't rich, these people around me wouldn't be in my circle. And for the people who are not rich, you're realizing that money is the anthem. Money is the national anthem. Money garners you respect. Money garners you attention. Money gives you followers. Money gives you support. I'm worried about the rise of individualism and what it means. What does it mean for the future? What does it mean for future generations? Because I'm not saying that individualism is bad or collectivism is good. We actually need both of them working at the same time, but I'm seeing the pendulum swing to the extreme right now. We are promoting individualism. We're promoting main character energy. We're promoting a certain level of competition amongst each other, amongst the young people. And I can only imagine what are going to be the consequences in the future, because individualism is only good in business, in entrepreneurship, in self-discovery, in activism. But then collectivism is good for social harmony. It's good for grounding your morality. It's good for basically creating communities. So I believe that we need to be individualistic only when it comes to business, only when it comes to entrepreneurship. Because I don't think school is the place where we're supposed to compete with each other. Yes, we might compete academically, but there's a reason why schools wear uniform. The uniform is to create a sense of community, a sense of shared identity. And what happens when we compete with each other, when it's a show off of luxury? What happens is the fact that we are to a degree separating ourselves from the group to show that we are essentially better than the rest of the group. And that is what is happening as I'm seeing the growing rise of luxury content in every sphere of life. My question is, what happens to those who cannot compete in the luxury Olympics? I'm curious to hear about what are your thoughts on this Matric dance. Has it become too much of a display of wealth? And what do we think about the kids who cannot uphold that standard? What does it mean? What does it mean if a society grows and continues to be individualistic and people prefer to just be individuals and not part of a community? Because these are behaviors to a degree that do isolate people. And I'm not saying that wealthy people should hide their wealth or not show off. Do you worked hard for your money, you worked hard, you got lucky and you got that privilege. I'm not saying don't show off your luxury, but also let's be cognizant and conscious of the fact that the content that we put out does send subliminal messages. Whatever you do is not of value. Your cheap Matric dress that is 500 Rand is not of value. Just because there's going to be comparison from young people who are comparing themselves to these luxury items. Money rules everything, and I'm realizing that even this video was just proving to me that money rules everything. It's ruling children, it's ruling us as adults, it's ruling everything. Rich people should be allowed to show off their privilege, but I don't think there shouldn't be any critical thought behind the other subliminal messaging that comes from what rich people post on the internet, because there is a beautiful aspirational element to the content, but there's also a negative element to the content. To the people who cannot afford that lifestyle, or the kids who have cheap dresses that they can wear or have to borrow dresses for their Matric dance, what happens to the broader demographic in the country? I want to hear your opinions on this video. And if you got to the end of this video, leave a phone emoji in the comment section. And I look forward to hearing your opinions, darling. Bye-bye.